ISI. In the last 7 years, 46 people involved in the media have been killed in Pakistan. Most of the cases are still unsolved. But there was a breakthrough last month with the first ever conviction for the murder of journalist Wali Babar. Well, journalist and blogger Malik Siraj Akbar is the editor-in-chief of the Baloch Hal, Balochistan's first online English-language newspaper. He joins us now live from Washington, D.C. Welcome to the program. Now, this is not the first time that Hamid Mir has been attacked. Why do you think he's been targeted once again?
Well, actually, the attack on Hamid Mir takes us back to the attacks in 2010 and 2011 on the investigative journalists Omar Chima and Syed Salim Shehzad. In both of the cases, the Pakistani Inter-Services intelligence was blamed. But in the first place, when the government of Pakistan took no action, when in the first place you encourage the human rights abusers and you give them a blank check, obviously we are left with no moral authority to question them in the second time. So that's what happened in Pakistan. You see, had the Pakistani authorities taken action against the people involved in the killing of Syed Salim Shehzad or the abduction and torture of investigative reporter Omar Chima, we wouldn't have seen this day. Journalist Hamid Mir had been talking about it even 2 days back. He wrote about threats that he was receiving in Jung newspaper that some friends of General Musharraf were trying to influence him and influence his writings. So the Pakistani military intelligence, the ISI, has been blamed once again because it has had a long history of influencing public opinion in the media in Pakistan. So by the time the journalists refuse to accept government dictations, that is a way the ISI applies violence to journalists to silence them.
But
so that's not a new pattern.
But the ISI, the army, has denied any involvement in this attack and has condemned it.
Well, it's very interesting. The ISI has also offered to form an investigation committee. But in the case of Syed Salim Shehzad, for instance, there was an investigation committee. But when it came with its findings, it blamed everyone except for the ISI. You see, the Pakistani military spends tens of millions of rupees every year to influence journalists, to bribe them, to mold public opinion in support of the Pakistani military. So there is a general perception within the Pakistani people, that their military cannot do anything wrong. The military is the best institution in the country. So these are kind of tactics by the military to come forward to say. But the question is, how impartial will those investigations be? Will any elements involved from the Pakistani military be brought to justice? So now, Mr. Mir had actually recorded a message a couple of days back and sent it to the CPJ, saying that if anything happened to him, the ISI would be blamed. Because in the past, the ISI had also been blamed.
Now, very quickly, you're Pakistani yourself, and you were given asylum in the U.S. because you yourself were threatened. Who was threatening you? If you could tell us very quickly.
Well, I received threats from the Pakistani military intelligence, and I'm not surprised the way Mr. Mir was stressed in Karachi, although he works from Islamabad, because a couple of times in Pakistan, when I was traveling from Balochistan to Karachi and I had to go to a conference in India, my hotel rooms were stormed in, and when I was at the airports, I was intercepted by the military intelligence authorities. So that's very common. The Pakistani military intelligence keep track of the journalists wherever they go, whosoever they meet. So I feel a sense of deja vu the way Mr. Mir has been hunted down in Karachi.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, journalist Malik Siraj Akbar. On other news, South Sudan's government has sent troops to secure United Nations compounds